Hey there. Welcome to another episode of Heart and Hustle, Visionary Healers, Movers, and Shakers. I am your host, Paulette Rees Denis, here to bring you magic makers from around the globe, people who are creating change, who have small businesses, large businesses, hobbies, but they are creating the life of their dreams. And that, my friends, is what living is all about. So let us know how you like this episode. Please subscribe, and we'll see you there. Thanks for joining. Hello, friends. Welcome to another episode of Heart and Hustle, Visionary Healers, Movers, and Shakers. And I am your hostess, Paulette Rees Denis. If you don't know me, I am your movement motivator, your passion instigator, and your magic maker. In other words, I am a lifestyle coach for creatives, and I work with women who are on the verge of becoming a new version. I love that. I love that so much. Yeah. And today I get to bring you, Katrina is with us from Idaho. Katrina Foe is here, and she is, well, she'll tell you a little bit more about herself. She's in Idaho, and Katrina, welcome.
Thank you, Paulette. It's a pleasure to be here.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad to have this conversation with you. She's a nutritionist, and she's also a cancer survivor, and we're going to talk about some of that stuff today and how she got on her path, doing what she does now, doing what Katrina does now. So, hey, so what's shaking, Katrina?
Oh, yeah. So much going on. A lot of business development stuff and just plugging along, making sure I take care of myself as we do that.
That's good. Yes. Self-care is of the utmost importance for sure. So how long have you been doing nutrition work?
Since 2016.
Okay. Yeah. And I know a little bit about your backstory, but why don't you tell the others about your backstory?
Yeah, so I've actually been in the health and wellness field since I was 24. I opened my first Pilates studio and became a teacher trainer. But I wasn't doing nutrition then. And along the way, learned this and that and saw some different food as medicine things happening in our life and our family. And then in 2015, I had my own cancer journey. I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and because of what I had seen, I chose to take a different path and stepped away from traditional oncology and did everything natural. So diet, lifestyle, functional testing instead. And that just opened up this whole new world of like, holy moly, like what in the world just happened? And I wanted to go back to school to understand what was going on, what had happened, and just couldn't get enough. So ended up doing, 4 years of study and different levels of the testing and training at higher level with cancer with Dr. Naisha Winters and such to really dive into what was going on. And it's amazing the power of the body to heal. And that's just
so many people have forgotten that.
Mm-hmm.
Or they just take it for granted and they just want the easy route or the, what the doctor says or, right?
Instead magic bullet.
Oh, man, I just get so frustrated sometimes. And so I'm really big. I'm not a nutritionist, but I'm definitely a well-being coach and work a lot with the idea of food as medicine and food as life. And so what did you do back then? What did you change with your food?
Yeah, so that was an interesting thing. I had been doing a lot of work. We had done a GAPS diet. We had gotten into Weston Price, really, soaking our grains and eating very nutrient dense. And when I got the cancer diagnosis, I was super frustrated. I was pissed because I was doing all the right things. Like, what the hell? And so I basically put everything on the table. Clearly something I was doing was not right. And I wanted to examine all of it. It was a lot of research. And first thing I did, I went down to a cancer clinic, a Gerson clinic down in Mexico. and let's see, like, because everything back then with cancer was like raw vegan. And I was there and I had been reading their stuff and I was asking questions and they didn't really have any answers. And
Mm.
then by the third day, the director of the program sat me down. He's like, Katrina, you just need to trust in the process and stop asking questions. Thank you. I'm like, are you joking? Because this is kind of like my life on the
Right, it's my
line
body.
and you have no answers. Why would I trust you? And so essentially I got kicked out of the cancer clinic. And
Go girl.
I know, but what do you do then? I'm like, so everything was up in the air. And I was really blessed to find a functional practitioner who had healed her own breast cancer. And so we started peeling back, like, let's look at this, what's going on, and testing things. And I've never tested things. So, like, for example, I had been taking cod liver oil, for my vitamin D levels and everything for years. And we tested them and they were in the toilet. Like, how is this possible? Well, I'd never tested. So I just assumed the supplements I was taking were doing their thing and they weren't. It took me, bizarrely enough, 5 different, of the best high quality supplements before I found one that actually moved the meter for me. And we were so excited because when I found that one, I got the test results back after taking some high dose for like 3 months. It had a little attachment, approaching the level of toxicity. I'm like, yeah, I'm almost toxic. But I mean, it turns out I have a genetic issue where I don't absorb and create vitamin D very well. So this is something that, I had no idea. No idea. And there were a lot of different things like that just I didn't know. And what I didn't know created that perfect storm that allowed my body to be overwhelmed by the cancer. So our body should be able to address cancer unless it gets overwhelmed. And that's the magic question that everyone I wish would be asking of, is why is the body allowing this cancer to develop?
Yeah, that's such a good question. Wow.
It's not about the tumor. The tumor is a symptom. And as soon as you stop looking at the tumor and obsessing about the tumor and look at the body and what's going on, then you can start to really see the layers of dysfunction that are there that maybe aren't being talked about or addressed or tested for even.
Wow, that's so intense. So good. Are you guys hearing that out there? Oh my gosh, it's so good. And you just see more and more people getting diagnosed with cancer. And
yes,
so many men I know are getting prostate cancer. And it's just like, something is wrong with what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. And people aren't talking about it. But the rates are skyrocketing. And, when we keep focusing on the tumor, we're not really getting to the issue. And even in alternative healthcare, it's like, okay, let's have some IV vitamin C's or some hyperbaric oxygen, or it's still got that, magic bullet kind of feel. And those are not always good treatments, although I use them a lot with clients. They're not for everybody and they're not all the time. And with testing, we can see, okay, this would be appropriate now, or, oh, now it would not be appropriate now. And instead of throwing wet spaghetti at the wall, we can really be specific with the treatments and not just guessing.
Nice. Wow. So you cured yourself. Love it. I love it. I'm sure that you know a lot about Chris Carr, right?
Yes.
Love her. Okay. So you stepped into studying more so that you could become a nutritionist. And so how has that journey been for you? And what's been the obstacles and what's been the passion?
Yeah. So the process has been long because there's a lot of layers. I didn't just do nutrition. I did like 2 years of functional lab training. And then I became an instructor for that company, which I'm still working with. And I adore that. I think the biggest obstacle is that there's so much research coming out every day, which is exciting and it's awesome, but it's overwhelming to keep up with it. So, I do at least 1 to 2 hours of continuing ed every day in terms of reading and watching webinars and going through research and such, just to try to maintain and tread water, if you will. I build that into my practice because I think it's super important and kind of feeds the nerdy side of me that is fascinated by all this stuff.
Excellent, excellent.
But it's not necessarily what's done. And it's really hard, I think, to, be feeding from that flood of water from the fire hose kind of thing. That's a huge obstacle. But in terms of the positives, like I really love, like I got into this and started going through training for myself. Like I wanted to learn how to help myself and my family because I don't want this to happen again. But what I found was, can't be quiet about this. This is really important and people need to learn about this. And working with clients and seeing the quality of life improve and things reverse and they get into remission. And my favorite is when, clients can walk away from the process not looking over their shoulder. They're not waiting for the other shoe to drop of when is it coming back, because that's the scary part with cancer that can drive you insane. Even if you're in remission, I heard somebody just saying the other day that I had met at the grocery, like, she's like, yeah, cancer is so scary and you just never know when it's going to come back. I'm like, oh no, you can know, I don't do scans every week. I don't do scans at all. But I can look at my test results and see if something starts to go sideways, I'm going to be catching things with the terrain being off before cancer is even going to grow. Like this is not a guesswork. You can test and see when and where cancer is going to develop by looking at these 10 areas of dysfunction, or, they could be dysfunctional kind of thing.
That's amazing. And of course, that's not what the average human knows anything about.
No, the doctors, the oncologists are saying it just happens. It just, some people are lucky. And I'm like, no, it's not luck. You're just not doing the test. They're being very lazy, no disrespect, but I have yet to have a breast cancer client, which that's a cancer that is known to be usually hormonally driven, that has brought me tests from their oncologist with any hormone testing. Now, granted, if they do hormone testing, they usually do blood, which we know is not the best form to test the hormones, but I've never even seen that. I mean, this is offensive, if not malpractice, that they're not even looking at the client's hormones to see what's going on.
Wow.
But when they're just doing chemo, radiation, and surgery, what the heck do they care? Because that doesn't matter, right?
So what are you going to do about this?
Well, I am going to get the word out there as best I can. My practice is getting larger, but we need to get the word out there just in general. So I have in the mix, my second book is percolating, which is going to be more cancer focused.
Wait, what's the first book? Let's go back. What's the first book?
Sorry, the first book is called Nutritional Pilates. And so it's a framework for all the things that can go wrong, when people are trying to just be generally healthy. So when there's like joint pain and there's, weight gain and there's chronic disease, like why is that allowed to happen? So I do mention cancer in there, but there's a lot of things like I mentioned the hormones, but mold, toxins, like people aren't talking about that. But mold is this huge epidemic problem. And this was actually, to me, what I consider the tipping point, the straw that broke the camel's back for my cancer was we moved into a house that had black mold.
Oh,
I didn't know anything about it. We removed it ourselves with no masks. And 8 months later, I had cancer. And of course, that mold is carcinogenic, and it was a big factor in it. My levels were through the roof. So, I mean, who's talking about that, much less in oncology,
Wow. Yeah. And I know all about that mold coming from the Pacific Northwest, right? Dampness. Woo-wee. Wow.
Well, and Paulette, here's the interesting thing, because I actually have quite a few clients in Phoenix that have mold issues.
Oh.
The HVAC systems are terrible for creating that moldy environment, even though it's dry as all get out in Phoenix. Like it's still a thing.
Interesting. Huh. Oh boy. Well, we could just talk about this in 5 million different directions. So what I want to know is, all right, so you're doing your own personal coaching practice.
Yes.
And then you work for this company too.
Mm-hmm.
And you're writing a second book, which is going to be more cancer based.
Yeah.
Awesome. Oh my God. When is it
I
going to
think
come out?
you're the first person I've said that to publicly. So I'm
Yeah,
like, okay, there it is. It's out there.
it's coming. I'm working on my 5th book this summer. So
Woo,
uh,
love it.
I know. So exciting. Um, okay, tell me what you do for yourself. So I love to hear about you, the business person, but I want to hear about Katrina, the woman at home.
Yeah, that's a great question because that's what matters. What does it really look like? So for me, there were certain areas of my cancer that the terrain areas, there's 10 terrain areas, and each person usually has like 6 to 8 of them off to allow cancer to proliferate. So the body's pretty resilient to have that many. It's not one, it's not even two, it's like 6 or 8. So for me, I watch those areas. I'm going to give you a good example. So recently I had noticed a couple, like, I'm getting really picky on myself here, but like my libido was like rather robust, which it usually is not. I was noticing I was waking up in the middle of the night kind of warm, not like sweaty, but I'm like, is this the beginning of a hot flash? I don't know. Is this perimenopause, or is this like my estrogen dominance coming back? There were some symptoms like that. So I ran a Dutch test, and I to say it came back about a week ago, and it was fabulous. And I was like, I was so excited because my hormones couldn't look better. So again, it could be the beginning of menopause. I'm in that age range, but yeah, nothing wrong. So that's what I do for myself is I'm constantly listening to my body.
So good.
And I know what my symptoms are. I know how my body like feels and reacts to things. And then if something sounds funky, like, smelled a little odd with those hormones, I'm just going to jump in there and test it. I'm not going to wait till things get really bad where there's, multiple things going on that can create that perfect storm. And that's a really powerful thing. So I feel like I have power and control.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'll be testing things ongoing for the rest of my life, but everything's optimal. Like,
But you are so in touch, and even doing that testing, you become even closer and closer and closer to yourself, to your body, to hear when things are screwed up.
Yeah.
Most people have no idea. Oh, I have a headache.
Well, and that's part of the process that I work with my clients. It's a year-long program, and part of it is to help people find like what are their triggers, their symptoms, and everybody's different. I don't get headaches much, but some people that's their thing, and they know things are wrong when they get a headache. And so knowing and listening to what your stuff is, and then as we address them and they see it go away, then they know, oh, I have power over that. These stupid symptoms that we have that people just kind of dismiss. Oh, I'm getting old. Oh, that's just this. That's just how it is. No, it's not. That's your body screaming. And if you don't listen to it, this more things will happen. And it's just a matter of time. So I want to listen when it's whispering. I don't want to make it yell at me.
Yeah, that's so good. That should be a bumper sticker.
There you go.
I love bumper stickers. Okay. So back to you. So you listen in and you do your testing and stuff, but what else do you do for yourself? Like, how do you eat? What do you do? Do you have a daily practice? Are you still teaching Pilates?
I'm not teaching Pilates on a daily basis with clients, but I do still practice. My reformer is right there, actually. And I do teacher training and speaking and stuff on that. So in the morning, I get up, usually I do some intermittent fasting. I'll start with some matcha. For me, genetically, the matcha helps me slow down my turnover of my neurotransmitters. So this is a food as medicine for me. It's not just a caffeine. I actually don't even want the caffeine if I could do with that. I'll do my Pilates, and then I jump into usually seeing clients and stuff. I like to make sure that I have enough time with my kids. So that means that I have breaks during the day to go into the house because I just work on the property and, have lunch with them, have dinner with them, do some things in the evening. I love playing games with my boys, especially.
How many kids do you have?
Yeah, my 7-year-old beat me last night at sequence. So, this is fun stuff. That to me is my joy. I enjoy that.
That's fabulous.
And we like to make fun treats together. I do still eat primarily keto. I'm not super strict on it anymore because I don't need to be, but for my mental health, I really feel strongly that the keto, I just resonates with me better. Yeah. And I make sure I go to bed at a decent time and, get lots of nourishing sleep.
Love it. Love it. Love that. So what besides the new book, what's next for you?
Let's see. I have a project with our Cancer Freedom Program that I'm going to be putting together a group program. So I'm really excited about that. And I'll be probably doing recording and stuff for that in the fall and working on some of the PowerPoints and stuff this summer.
So when you, and back to your, so you have a year-long program. So are these people who have cancer that are coming to you?
Yeah, that's a good question. So the clients that I take, some of them are like, they get to that point where their doctor's saying they need a biopsy, but they don't want to do the biopsy because they know that spreads cancer. And, so they'll stop short and they'll come to me then. They're like, I think I have cancer, but they don't know because they don't have the official diagnosis. And unfortunately, there's some great tests that you can do with a simple blood draw, but they've taken them off the market for diagnostic purposes because we like things that cause cancer to diagnose cancer. So I have clients from there on the spectrum all the way to the other end where they are, they did standard of care, all the chemo radiation stuff, and they realized through that process that did not address why their cancer was there. And they hear about this and they come to me afterwards and they're like, okay, now I want to stop looking over my shoulder. Let's work on it. And so everywhere in between, a lot of them are actively cancering. I can and will work with integratively, the oncologists. Usually the oncologists don't want to work with me, unfortunately.
I'm sure that that's.
Well, they do things like, oh, don't take any supplements. I'm like, are you just throwing them all out? So, but they don't know because they're not trained in any of that. So they just want to hedge their bets and keep, other cooks out of the kitchen, so to speak. So that's fine. But there's a lot of different ways that clients come to me, whether they're, stage 1, stage 4, wherever they're at. The whole spectrum, it works because this is about looking at the body and what's going on with the body. It's not about the tumor.
Wow, this is just so good. This is so good. You need to be like way out there.
Well, I'm working on doing some more speaking because this is exactly where I want to go because it's I think that once people hear the message, it usually resonates with them. And the fact that there isn't another choice is not mentioned enough. You don't have to guess and you don't have to just go with standard of care because most people are scared of standard of care and I don't blame them. It's not a pretty process and it's not really addressing the issue. So the big problem is though, that's what insurance covers. And even though it costs way more to do standard of care than like what I charge, when you have insurance covering the whole thing, it changes the ballpark in terms of people feel bullied into doing that.
Oh, and that's what an awful, that just right what you just said, feeling bullied into doing that, even that will make you sick.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many people that's why they chose it because that was their only option and they felt they didn't have another option. And this is where medical freedom really needs to come alongside and say, okay, insurance is not the answer necessarily, and it's not actually helping us.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Well, we could go on and on about that.
Right.
Oh my gosh. Wow, that's so beautiful. But I love, love, love that you have pursued this work that you're so passionate about, and you've really just, besides curing yourself, which is huge, but to continue on with the studies and to do the work that you're bringing to other people and helping educate other people and helping them cure themselves. And
yeah, because at the end of the day, I tell people all the time, I don't cure cancer. I just help get the crud out of the way and give my clients guidance so that their bodies can do the curing. Their body has it in them, and their body is what's curing the cancer.
And that's the thing that I'm always saying. This is our temple.
Exactly.
Body is your temple, and don't take it for granted. And it is not. It is resilient, but you can't abuse it. And I have abused my body over the years, in my younger years, because I was,
Mhm.
what's the word?
We all do.
Right. I'm invincible or whatever. Superwoman. Now I'm superwoman with a health kick.
I love that. And that's the hard thing. I was actually on a call with a 20-year-old this morning whose mom was concerned because she had had cancer. But when you're 20, like you just don't have the motivation to look at this stuff. It's like, I feel great. Why would I think about this? And you can see stuff even then on the blood work and on the testing of, okay, well, this is going sideways. Like you should do something now before it feels bad. But there's this human thing that unless we're in enough pain, we won't make a change.
Exactly.
And that's where I want to wake people up of like, notice your pain and feel it, listen to your body. Like all these symptoms, those are your body screaming, that's your pain. Like you don't have to be in that. You don't have to wait till it gets to like a chronic killer disease to do something.
So what would you say, before we sign off here, what would you say to our people? What would be like the first thing that you would recommend somebody do?
Test, don't guess. I mean, blood
Like
work.
what kind of test? Like
I would start with the blood work, and I'm not talking a CBC and a metabolic panel. That's like the cheap stuff. It should cost less than $10. And that's usually all like oncologists run. It's insane. But getting more extensive work, looking at the hemoglobin A1C and homocysteine, an iron profile with ferritin, and looking at some of the bigger markers that, yeah, they cost a little bit more, but you're going to get much better, more important information and insight as to what's going on.
well, then you also have a marker, right? So then the next time you can look and see what's changed, or if you need to change something or whatever, right?
Well, and it's like my stupid vitamin D story. Like I didn't test. I felt fine. Like a lot of these things when they're wrong, especially the really foundational stuff, you don't feel bad. And I didn't know because I hadn't tested. I a lot of times when for your people, especially thyroid, these areas, when you test, the doctors are looking at the lab ranges, and the lab ranges are created by taking the average of who takes the test and then 2 standard deviations. Well, who takes the test? Sick people. This has absolutely no bearing on how you should feel or what optimal is. So with functional work, we're looking at a much narrower, tighter range of like where people are actually healthy. So especially with thyroid, I mean, over and over all day long, I get people whose thyroids are messed up that they've gone to their doctor and their doctor's like, you're fine. And they're like, but my hair is falling out in clumps. And it's ridiculous because this is a known driver of cancer is hypothyroid. And they never test the antibodies. Like this is cheap and easy. Why not do it? But they don't look at it because they don't have any tools to deal with it. But we do have tools. And that's the kicker. So looking at these areas and making sure you get a functional look at it to start changing things specific to you. It's really important.
Yeah, so good. So you're all hearing that now. Make sure you're taking notes and go ask your doctor. This is what I want, right? This is what I want. And step into your own health. I mean, how many times have y'all been to a doctor and it's like, oh, okay, whatever you say. Because I don't know any better. So whatever you say.
Yeah.
Like for instance, I just got diagnosed with well, I have IBS, so I have a little bit of thing going on, and I'm like so healthy and I eat so good, and I got this thing, and they gave me these drugs. I'm like, I got to do something. I've tried several things. What else can we recommend? Let's look at this. So she gave me these pills, and I go home and I start taking them, and I look at it, and it's got pork in it. I haven't had pork for 25 years.
Oh.
It's enough to make me puke. I mean, I stopped immediately and I was like, oh my God, see? And if I would have done a little bit more pre-research, right? So you got to take it into your own hands too, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. You want to let them know, and a good practitioner, if you tell them that stuff, they should look at it and and be taking that into account. But yeah, a lot of the stuff it's got pork in it and things,
Oh,
but
it's disgusting.
it's easy to avoid though,
It's horrifying to me. I mean, that's on so many levels. And then I can get into the whole animal rights thing, but we won't go there right now because that's my passion. So, one of them. Anyway,
Love it.
so, just, I love what you're doing, and I love how you have turned yourself around, turned your health around, and then allowed that passion to follow through with what you're bringing to the world now, because you're creating change in the world. It's huge.
Thank you. I hope so. We want to create a massive tidal wave. People can take their own health back in their hands.
Like, go run for president or something. Will you please?
Oh. Yeah,
I think that would be a great idea. So anyway, Katrina, thank you for being here on Heart and Hustle with us. And
thank you.
And people, my people, make sure you read all the notes, and you'll get all her contact information and all that stuff. And connect with her. And but what's the main story here? The main story is listen to your body, right? Listen to your body. Listen to the changes. And treat yourself with respect, and because you are a divine being, right? And
Absolutely.
temple, honor yourself. And listen, and talk to your body and ask it what it needs. And then ask your doctor for what you need. Right?
Yeah. And if you don't get the answers you're looking for, try again. Try someone else. Try a different practitioner. Yeah. It's very important to not give up just because the one doctor doesn't give you the answer you want.
Yeah, that's right. That's so right. All right. So great to meet you here, Katrina.
Well, thank you, Paulette. It's been pleasure's been all mine.
Awesome. And many blessings to you. And continuing on, I can't wait to see what's next for you and see your next book coming out. Yeah. Get on that now, girl.
I will. Thank you.
All right, and you guys out there, thank you in Heart and Hustle Land. Paulette Rees Denis here, and thank you for being here on this journey with me of being able to bring you all these amazing magic makers and shakers and movers and health workers and spirit workers and all the people that I get to bring to you. It's such a pleasure, and this is our 5th year in doing this. Please subscribe, please leave reviews, please share me with all of your friends, and share us and all these fabulous people. And take good care of yourself, and I'll see you next time. Bye.